Welcome, you beautiful people. Let's try to do this. This is a trial run of the bring back of the Martini lunch, making your days better through the idea of getting drunk. Let's see here. What have I got? Oh, well, that's already failed. I just realized these are my photos. Let's see here. It's not what I want at all. I want to. What do I want to do? How do I do this? Help me. There you go. This is what I wanted to get to. Let's see. This is the first one. Um, Maybe gonna enlarge that. There we go. Boy, who would think it'd take this much work to figure out how to do something as stupid, as simple as you used to always do? Um, So what I'm doing here, as you already know, this is a premiere. So you have your chat. If there is a chat, talk to it. If there's not a chat, well then premieres don't work for this show. But hopefully it does. Few things I wanted to go over. Big weekend, couple of rulings, about time. The media has fallen off their horses. They had to pick themselves back up. And they're realizing that, oh wait, there were even more rulings they don't know what to do about. One includes the rights of prayer and school choice, which again is a ruling for sovereignty. You guys don't realize this. Like, these rulings are not extreme conservative rulings. These are simple rulings that are giving back sovereignty to mankind. We've had government overstep for too long. These are basic baby steps. Basic steps. All right? I mean, it's like the state of Florida. Florida exists because of air conditioning. There wasn't air conditioning. I mean, look at the numbers of that lived in Florida before the invention of air conditioning. It was a very, very small state. And there's no borders. There's no way to get to Florida except through like Georgia. Was it Alabama? I think those are the only two states that might touch it, right? These are very small conservative states. This whole area is, right? They have nothing to do with the taste of Fruit Loops in Seattle, all right? So why are you protesting in Seattle that a Floridian might be able to say, "Hey, we're gonna eliminate abortion as birth control because it is uh, it's an obscenity to common law, to the right of life." That's a common law thing. I mean, euthanasia is illegal. And they treat like euthanasia like it's oh, it's a good thing, just give them dope and send them on their way. They start restricting people in the hospitals. Doctors and nurses and stuff need to start being prosecuted like the Vanderbilt nurse. These aren't bad things. Um. Anyway, which one's this one? This is ruling overtone Roe vs. Wade sparks debate about Supreme Court's legitimacy and partisan passions. Sparks debate about Supreme Court's legitimacy. Notice how this was only happens when there's a conservative ruling, okay? And let me rephrase that. When I say conservative, what's being said is a conservative ruling, all right? But this is not a big thing. I mean, believe it or not, there are pro-life people everywhere. Ooh, pro-life people that do not consider themselves conservatives. So now all of a sudden, because the Supreme Court didn't go with the way that elite media people think, we have to question their legitimacy. What? Well, why the hell we have to question the Supreme Court's legitimacy? Why don't we start questioning the legitimacy of Speakers of the House, presidents of the Senate. Do you realize the president of the Senate is uh, Chuck Schumer, and he has a minority? There's only 47 Democrats elected to the U.S. Senate. Oh, but they caucus with other Democrats. They shouldn't be allowed to caucus like that. People went and they voted. They said, we want this person. We want an independent. And now they go up there and they get a caucus with whoever they want to. That seems weird. Let's talk about that legitimacy. Let's talk about the legitimacy of, oh yeah, we can't talk about that one legitimacy. We can talk about the cognitiveness. Is the president cognitive? But that's not a debate. These aren't debates. But because of Roe versus Wade, a heinous idea to begin with, we have to look at whether or not the Supreme Court's legitimate. What's wrong? What's wrong with these people? In December, the Supreme Court debated whether to overturn Roe v. Wade. Associate Justice Sonia Sotomayor, probably like one of the worst justices in the history, probably one of the worst, posed a dire warning in the form of a question. How would the nation's highest court, she asked, survive the stench of the abortion ruling if it appeared the justices were engaging in politics? Holy cow. Well, when you say, how does it survive the abortion ruling when none of the Supreme Court justices that ruled on Roe versus Wade the first time had ever seen a sonogram? There is a lot of medical technology that's happened in the 50 years since then. And it's about life, right? It's about, I mean, this is something, these people don't even realize this. They're upset in states that have open-ended abortions. But the Supreme Court had already ruled that third trimester is okay to ban. Second trimester is pretty okay to ban. What happens when it gets further and further? This has always been about a medical thing. That's why this is not constitutional. This changes. Gosh, if you wanted this to be a constitutional thing, like they say, then pass an amendment. Public approval of the Supreme Court was already falling. The decision last week to overturn his 1973 president and wipe away the constitutional right to abortion amplified skepticism of the court among those who support reproductive rights. Well, there's no reproduction happening in an abortion. But I'm going to go back. This just solidifies my political theory on everything goes back to gun control. If you want a conservative member, you need to vote in primaries. Primaries are the single most important time to vote. And you vote for the person who's most pro-gun. And because the rest of their politics always fall in line with the rest of yours. They won't be wishy-washy about something. But this is a 1973 president, a constitutional right. We'll go back to guns. You think a restriction on guns is constitutional when it specifically is a amendment to the Bill of Rights? The only thing that guaranteed the right the states to stay together and accept a federal system of government was that the passage of Bill of Rights had to be a part of it. These people, though not unexpected, given the unprecedented leak of the draft in May, the 6-3 ruling to uphold a Mississippi ban on most abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy prompted protests over the weekend and sharp to ban an abortion after 15 weeks. In 3 months, you can't figure out whether or not you are. These angry hoes don't realize that they are the meme. They're sitting here, it's like, what's the old saying? Like, oh, well, if I'm pregnant, he'll marry me. How gross is that? How gross is that? It happens. It happens. Let's see. Continue reading. I think it's very appropriate ruling. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. Of course, they're going to say that Americans oppose abortion. Also turned out over the weekend, uh, and GOP governors vowed to clamp down on access to the procedure. It's banned in Tennessee. I'll tell you that right now. So, how will this affect everybody who's moving all around the nation right now? The stench using Justice Sotomayor's word from this conservative majority decided to strip away from millions of Americans an established constitutional right. There's nothing more established in the Second Amendment because there's been no court precedents, no court. Every issue in the Bill of Rights has been litigated to death, except for the Second Amendment, because it's that plainly spoken. It is well written and plain spoken, and that's why there's so few decisions on it. Only recently, when people start saying, "Hey, you know what? All these decisions are preemptive, and we need our rights back." Like, this is an overgrown government. Conservatives holding those on the Supreme Court flatly rejected the idea the ruling will undermine trust in the institution. Central point of Alito's 79-page opinion is that Roe decision itself inflamed passions over abortion and used questions about the court's legitimacy. The best thing the court could do, Alito responded, was to extradite itself from a deeply divisive political battle. Oh, and that's what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said too before she died. That's why she said it's a bad ruling. Have you ever read Roe versus Wade? Before you, I'll tell it. I don't care what side you are on the argument. Read the original Roe versus Wade and see if you don't come away scratching your head. Georgia explains its view that the court's legitimacy is served best when it has the courage to act as a court rather than as a political body, said Carter Snead, a law professor at the University of Notre Dame. This is in the majority's judgment is the proper role of the court. The fidelity of the principle of self-limitation is what confers legitimacy. You happen to be right. Law professor happens to be right. You act as a court rather than as a political body. Was Roe versus Wade political? That's the political part. Now they're trying to say, "Oh, but it's political now." Ah, geez. I mean, and this is not what I want to talk about. I just thought it'd be a highlight. But when you're talking about when you're attacking the courts, something's very personal to me. I mean, the courts have always been. It's probably the courts have been the backbone of America. It's what keeps us straight. We're the only country in the world that you get to go into a courtroom and plead your case with the state, a free, impartial collection of jurors and judges. I mean, just look at how the Depp and Heard trial went. They both got to plead their sides equally. And through a preponderance of the evidence, they ruled. Okay, now we're going to get down into the politics. But more than 2 to 1, 61 to 28% Americans opposed overturning Roe versus Wade, according to a USA Today Suffolk University poll conducted before. You know what? They say of Americans. I bet you these are it's not likely voters, and nobody takes Americans. are just the hobos walking down the sidewalks. Okay, those count as Americans. They're probably asking people they cross the border. No, Mexicans, they're against abortion. Um, I was gonna say they're asking people crossing the border how they feel about Roe versus Wade. So first, so the only contingency we have here is citizenship, but it's not 61-28. It is a much more divisive rule. If it were 61-28, then there'd already be a constitutional amendment. On the other hand, polls have shown most Americans favor some restrictions on the procedure. 55% generally oppose abortion in the second trimester, according to a Gallup poll. Now, that's as fair as they're going to get to. And I wonder what the question is, and I can look it up right here, but we're trying to hurry this up. Trying to make this martini lunch. We got to get back to having fun, people. And this is fun because you know what happened is this whole thing is about your rights, your state's rights to govern, instead of being led by a bad group of people in Washington, D.C. Most Americans have never been to Washington, D.C. That should be the first thing. I bet you 61% at least haven't ever been to D.C. Approval of the Supreme Court tumbled again in May after Politico published a leaked draft of the opinion in the Mississippi case, a draft that proved to be nearly identical to the ruling Friday. About 44% of Americans approved of the way the court was handling its job, down 10 percentage points from March. So one case, and we got to throw out the whole damn thing. You ever hear about don't throw out the baby with the bathwater? We're going to throw out the whole damn thing because of one ruling. And meanwhile, all we're doing over here on the experts channel, we're celebrating and hey, we got 10th Amendment rights back. This is awesome for states. This is awesome for states' rights. We got there's a prayer in school case. You got more freedom in. You got the gun ruling. It's all about providing strict scrutiny, applying it to the Second Amendment, which is applied everywhere else in the Constitution. And I mean, strict scrutiny is not even applied to abortion. I mean, they never treated this thing like it was a constitutional right. Preemption goes with strict scrutiny. I mean, it's so awesome. This is so awesome. Such a great time for America. And these assholes can't have a good time about it. They can't sit here and say, wow, more freedom. No, all these people that are out here screaming and crying, they're upset because you get more freedom. Think about that. They're upset that uh, they, that government can protect life. That upsets them. These people would be out here. These are the ones that want euthanasia boards. You know, what was it? The Obamacare. They're going to have death panels. Yeah. These are the people that want that. You don't believe it? Look at the abortion rulings. And the most closely watched and controversial case to arrive at the High Court in years, a majority of the justices, all of whom were appointed by Republican presidents, held that the right to end a pregnancy was not found in the text of the Constitution. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. Nor the nation's history. Oh, nation's history is from founding. I mean, Roe was not the majority anywhere in the U.S. at the time that the passing happened. It was a political ruling. The justices had never seen a sonograph. I mean, they've never seen a baby's heartbeat. You can see all that now. 5 justice majority voted to overturn Roe. That was a step too far for Chief Justice John Roberts, nominated by President George W. Bush. Oh, so he wasn't he's not a Republican, or he wasn't reported by Republican. Roberts wrote separately to assert the court could have sided with Mississippi while upholding one of the court's best recognized and most heavily debated presidents. No other justice joined Roberts. Yeah, because he's stupid. That's a dumb ass thing. That'd have kept everything in check there. So it's like that. Roberts, from what this paragraph is saying, is you're going to be a 10th Amendment cafeteria. And that's stupid. No other president, no other justice joined Roberts. An unusual outcome and a repudiation of his incremental approach to decisions. His incremental approach. Yeah, he wants to keep fighting it in the courts. Several states, including Kentucky, why does Kentucky get picked on of all these? Moved quickly in response to the decision, informing residents that trigger laws banning abortions once Supreme Court overturned Roe were in effect. Liberal states. Now, you know what? I hate to tell you this. I don't know if I agree with that whole like trigger law thing. Um, if they wanted a battle, that's where I think the battle would come in. I know Tennessee, they did a constitutional amendment that said if it's ever handed back to the states, it'll get automatically banned in Tennessee. And I'm like, how can you vote on an amendment to a constitution on an if? On something that doesn't happen. That's just weird. And that's since the opinion turned the issue back to the states, which were driven. Liberal states raced in the other direction. California advanced legislation that would add drive-through windows for abortions. Kidding, but I expected. I mean, come on. An amendment to the state's constitution to protect abortion rights. So in California, they're going to constitutionally demand abortion. Abortion is the only way you get eugenics, people. In that sense, the opinion turned the issue back to the states, which have driven legal battles over abortion for years. I mean, why are they scared about the states having rights? Do you care about what happens in Canada? Imagine Canada being a state. Do you care about what happens in Canada right now? Do you know Mexican laws? No, you don't. Nobody cares. Why do you care what Connecticut passes? Why do you care what Idaho does? Idaho's got that weird little like streak in it. It's just a weird, man. I mean, who cares? Um, in that sense, back to the states, which have driven legal battles over abortion for years, passing laws to chip away at Roe. When Sotomayor spoke of the political stench, she was referring to the fact that lawmakers in Mississippi defended the bill by noting the change in composition of the Supreme Court. Well, I can't help what they said in Mississippi. Did they argue that? Was that an argument in front of the Supreme Court? I doubt it. Was that something that she read somewhere, or was told because she can't read? The Magnolia State passed its law months after Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a conservative, replaced Associate Justice Anthony Kennedy, a swing vote. I mean, again, what does that have to do? So she's talking about like the state legislature in Mississippi, which I know nothing about. How many members are elected to the state legislature in Mississippi? You don't know offhand, do you? No idea. And they touched Tennessee. I mean, oh, see, there's the genius. Does that woman look like a genius on the court? Or does she look like an overfed Cabbage Patch doll? When Mississippi filed its appeal in early 2020, lawyers for the state filed its appeal. So that means already was struck down. They hadn't sued. Mississippi might be the only state that has this strict abortion ruling, and they'd still have their Roe versus Wade. This is a result of Planned Parenthood's lawyers. I'm sure ACLU's lawyers got in there. It's nothing to do with us. Now we have states' rights. Ooh, I bet you your states don't act like this. I've got listeners in California and Illinois. I know those states are not going to be going, restricting abortions. Jeez. When Mississippi filed its appeal, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a Clinton nominee, died, President Donald Trump, who had vowed to name justices who were overturn Roe, again, a political decision. You're allowed to do that. It does not upset the integrity of the court. Evidently, the people didn't like the idea that he was going to. I mean, they liked it, and then 4 years later, they decided they didn't like it. So now it's swung the other way. It'll swing back. There'll be a liberal court again. When Mississippi filed its next brief in the case 9 months later, its argument was sharper. Oh, they got a better argument. Roe, the state said, was, I can't pronounce this, egregiously wrong and needed to be overturned. In the dissent, the court's liberals touted the justice in 1992 who, in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, upheld the central holding of Roe, a right to abortion under the Constitution, but limited how long into a pregnancy that could be exercised. Oh, that's another good ruling. The liberal court, such as Justice Stephen Breyer, Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan wrote, worked hard to avoid the appearance of politics. Ah, jeez, holy hell. 92 was exactly 30 years ago. She's so stupid. She's so stupid. The American public, they thought, should never conclude that its constitutional protections hung by a thread, that a new majority adhering to a new doctrinal school, that's the first time I've heard that. I'll have to see what they mean by doctrinal school, could, by dint of numbers alone, expunge their rights. The liberal justices wrote, it is impossible to conclude that anything else has happened here. That's exactly what happened with Roe in the first place. I mean, my gosh, this is. If we had good legislation, this wouldn't be happening. If we had people that weren't obsessed with power, this wouldn't be happening. Just how about this one? If you leave everybody alone and let them be, think of that. If there's any way I could describe constitutional rights any more clear, I don't know what it is. But it should start with leave everyone alone. We cannot allow our decision to be affected by the extraneous influences such as who said this? Wait a second. Oh, excuse me. From Alito's perspective, the court in Casey dodged by attempting to quiet passions. Yes, I can't read. The quiet passions over abortion with middle of the road approach. The decades since, he reasoned, underscored that the court had tied itself in knots and never put the issue to rest. He happens to be right. There's a lot of the middle of the road approach. We cannot allow our decisions to be affected by any extraneous influence, such as concern about the public's reaction to our work. You know what's funny about that? I remember that's the reason why Roe happened in the first place. It was pressure. Alito wrote for the majority in the Mississippi case. This court cannot bring about the permanent resolution of a rancorous national controversy simply by dictating a settlement and telling the people to move on. Let me read that again. This court cannot bring about the permanent resolution of a rancorous national controversy simply by dictating a settlement and telling people to move on. That's powerful. That's a great statement. That is a great statement. And if there's justice in the world, that'll be taught in law schools. Guys, send your kids to law school. That's a big one right there. Support them through it. They need it. And that's the best you can do with your time on earth. We need good lawyers. So, anyway, I was going to talk about other stuff, but we've ran out of time because I'm trying to get the martini lunch going. Anyway, guys, look, all these are sending rights back to you. Even in the article, I don't think there's anything that sparks a debate about the Supreme Court's legitimacy. That was clickbait. I clicked it. You got to hear it, and now you know. Don't pay attention to these fools. Go out there and live your life. Live your life. You have a freer America than you've probably ever had in your lifetime right now. Enjoy that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start making phone calls. We're going to start talking about the importance of contacting your state senate, your senators and your representatives. And we're going to have a good time, y'all. It's going to be great. Today's a great day. I want you to punch Monday in the face and kick ass all week long. All right. So, anyway, listen, love you guys. Stay safe out there. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Until I talk to y'all next time, Godspeed, y'all.